Good day, everyone. We're going to start with chapter 2. It's about diversity in organizations. So, diversity is referring to differences in terms of individual characteristics. For example, in terms of gender, in terms of age, race, ethnicity, and so on. These differences in terms of individual characteristics can influence employee performance. So that's why it is important for the organizations to manage this diversity among their workforce so that they be able to bring these differences into something useful. That's mean to influence employee performance. If the manager cannot influence, it cannot control, cannot manage employees' diversity, it will create chaos to the organizations because employees have differences. It's very difficult to manage. If employees themselves couldn't be able to manage, it will affect the whole organization. Into the organization become chaos, conflicts, and people cannot work effectively and efficiently together in the team. So it is important for the manager to develop awareness about these differences, about this diversity among their workforce, so that they be able to manage this kind of differences effectively, so that it will bring something useful out of the differences. So there are two types of diversity, surface level and deep level. So surface level is very easy. When you see, you know it. So for example, race, gender, and age. So when you look at the employees, you know the difference, what kind of background they come from in terms of what age. Maybe you do not know exactly what age, but you know whether this person belong to younger or old, or gender male or female, so on. So surface level is like when you see, you know it's very easy to detect. You can see it at first glance. But deep level is very difficult to detect because it deep down. That's why it said deep level diversity is kind of very difficult to detect, such as values. When you look at the person, it's very difficult to determine what kind of values this person endorses. It's very difficult, or what kind of personality these persons belong to. So it's very difficult to know about the deep level diversity of the employees, unless if you know them or if you mingle around with them, then you may know. But at first glance, it's very difficult to detect the differences. So this is just to as a diagrams to elaborate the differences. So diversity management consists of two types of diversity: surface level and deep level. So it is important for the organizations, especially the manager, to try to manage the differences in terms of to be able to bring awareness among their employees regarding the importance of diversity. So in doing that, they have to eliminate. So this diversity management is important. One of the reasons is very important is to eliminate unfair discrimination. So basically, discrimination is actually to note a difference between one thing with the other. It does not necessarily mean discrimination is always bad. It can be good sometimes. So it can be bad if our behavior, or if the behavior of the person, of the employees, are influenced by the stereotypes about the person. For example, stereotypes. When you look at girl or you look at woman, what stereotype normally do you have? Normally, girl wearing skirts or playing playing sport that belong to girls, or maybe if you think of football, it's belong to men sports. So that's kind of stereotypes that you have. So stereotype can be bad, can be good. It's not always bad, but normally it's bad. It's actually it's bad when it affects our behavior to the extent that we negatively look down on others because they come up with a certain generalized characteristic that we tend to assume. So the importance of managing diversity, so that we can be able to manage our own from discriminating others. So unfair discrimination assumes stereotypes about people. So that's why it is important to manage diversity, so that we be able to eliminate these unfair discriminations. This unfair discrimination can be harmful to everyone, or to especially to employees. So there are many types of or many form of discriminations. Most of them are prohibited by law, even though not part of the organizations, but sometimes it's very obvious in the organizations. Sometimes it's not really obvious. Sometimes even it become common in the organization among employees, even though it's not officially practiced. But people sometimes have this kind of discrimination. So, for example, discrimination policy or practices that normally people practice or employees or organization practice. For example, in terms of hiring employees. So when all employees, all candidate come, when a younger candidate come, normally in the organization they prefer to hire younger because they think younger can easily be trained, can maybe adapt faster and so on. So that's kind of is considered as a stereotypes also. Sexual harassment is referring to unwanted sexual advance. For example, if you do not like to be sexually intimidated by someone, uh, is belong to your preference. Some people they prefer, but normally not all people prefer any unwanted sexual advance. So any unwanted sexual advance or that can create hostile or offensive work environment. You don't feel comfortable if someone just glaring or staring at you all the times, or just make some movement that you do not feel comfortable. So it can be considered as a sexual harassment. Intimidations, for example, threats, overt threat, that means is very obvious, it's a threat or bullying directed at specific group of employees. For example, if these employees are so reserved, so polite, so timid, so people tend to just bully or just easily tease them. So sometimes it can be considered under intimidation. Or mockery, insult, for example, jokes or negative stereotypes that people tend to tend to say to someone that's considered as a if it is too far, sometimes the joke can make us laugh, but and when it is too far about the person may think it's insulting. So it also can consider under the discrimination. So you can read your own the example of each of these form of discrimination. Another is exclusion. Exclusion is when you are not included in the, for example, opportunities, job opportunities, promotions, discussions, info, and so on. So you may feel like alienated, or you may feel like you are not belong to. This actually fall under the form of exclusion. Incivility is a disrespectful treatment. Sometimes when you come to the organization or when you work in the organization, if people treat you in the aggressive manner, ignoring your opinions, do not regard your opinions very important, and treat you badly, aggressively, that's considered as an incivility. For example, here you can read on your own the examples. That when you read the example, would it be easy for you to associate the example that you read with the type of the discrimination. So next is biological characteristics. Consider also a part of diversity. Also, is a personal characteristic. They are objective, that mean easily obtained about the person. So there are some variations in this that can be basis for discrimination. So in terms of biology, for example, when you come to the organization, you have to do your medical certificate. You give your information about your health to the organization. If, for example, you have certain allergic, certain diseases that may make you feel vulnerable. So if someone who are not really not is unresponsible, employees or others who got access to this information, they may use this to discriminate you. For example, if you have problems, allergic to some things, and in order to get promoted, you have to work in this area. For example, you have to work in this environment that may may make you sick or may have problems related to your health or biological characteristics. And people can use the information that you use for to discriminate you. So this also can, your biological characteristic can also become the basis for the discrimination. So it is important for the manager to be aware about this, so that they will not discriminate you because of this kind of biological characteristics. So, and others, some people got discriminated because of age, especially older or younger also can get discriminated, can be discriminated because of their age. And sexual orientation or sex or gender can also become the basis for discrimination. For example, for the higher position CEO, maybe people will look more for male compared to female. So if this is the case, instead of they are looking for the merit or qualifications, then it will becomes it will become considered under illegal, because gender is become the basis for discrimination. It's actually, it shouldn't be. So what we this textbook want to show is actually sex or gender can be the basis for discrimination. So it just for the manager to be aware that they shouldn't take this as a part to as a reason to discriminate their employees. Race and ethnicity also, sometimes if you refer to, for example, jobs rate, sometimes they prefer certain race, this. So that can become discrimination unless if you have certain law. For example, law normally, labor law, under certain, for example, acts, that's important to hire because of the for example certain law. But normally race and ethnicity shouldn't be the reason for the organization to discriminate certain types of race and ethnicity. Disability also, for those who have disabled, either physical or mental, unless, because some people when they have a mental disability it's very difficult for them to work. So if it is just physical disability and the organization discriminate this person or this employee because of disability, that they could perform the job, for example, those who have physical disability but they could perform the job, so it shouldn't be a basis to discriminate. So but important to let the manager know that disability or people with disable are actually, especially in the US, they are protected under the law. So sometimes workers with disability could achieve higher performance and may also have lower performance expectation, especially from the manager and from the other colleague, because they know these people have disabilities in terms of physical, so they may expect that they couldn't do the job. But actually it's common, even us also have this kind of perceptions about disabled people, but it shouldn't base our decision on this. So any decision regarding hiring and so on shouldn't base on disabilities or physical disabilities and so on. Sometimes we have hidden disability, for example, sensory cognitive impairment, sleep disorder. So this also can be a basis for discrimination for the organizations. Tenure also, if you have longer tenure, normally you will tend to be hired easier compared to those who do not have tenure at all. Tenure means it's referring to the how long you have been working for certain jobs. Religion also can be a basis for discrimination, especially for Muslim in the US, for example. So you know already about the Islamophobia. So religion can be a basis for discrimination. Is also considered against the law if organization discriminate employees based on their religions.